President Trump weighing in this evening on the NFL decision to put their new national anthem policy on hold. That amid a pressure from the league's Players Association. President Trump tweeting this, quote, "The NFL national anthem debate is alive and well again. Can't believe it. Isn't it in contract that players must stand at attention hand on heart? The $40 million commissioner must now make a stand. First time kneeling, out for the game. Second time kneeling, out for the season, no pay." The NFL and the Players Union putting out a joint statement. That statement saying that they will neither issue nor enforce new rules related to the national anthem. Now, there's a position, and what a bunch of sorry son of a guns, the owners, because they made a rule and then just blew it up. They are apparently talking about a new policy, but then again, what is a policy but something a little temporary, transitory in the minds of the leadership of the NFL, if you can call it that. Joining us tonight, Dom Giordano, radio talk show host. Philadelphia's WPHT is his home. Tammy Bruce, Washington Times columnist, president of Independent Women's Voice, and Fox Business contributor, and she is home here with us. Great to have you both. Let's start with the NFL, guys. Tammy, what is Goodell doing this time?
You know, this is interesting. You've got the union really has been an issue here, of course, and it's not like Americans have had an experience with unions destroying businesses before. You can ask everybody who used to work at Hostess before that got destroyed. So you're looking at clearly an industry that's fearful. The president at the same time, and all of us who are arguing about this issue, we are also worried about the business of this entity, an incredibly important cultural entity for the United States, a business that employs, obviously, I mean, tens of thousands of people, the stadiums, the people dealing with concessions. The people.
This is a big deal.
It is a huge deal. And it seems like these individuals who are making $40 million a year and the players making even more seem to not care or realize that so much more is at stake than... And look, the point, we got the point. We've been dealing with this for so long. We understand what their...
What's the point? I mean, I don't honestly get it, Don. What is the point?
No, Lou, that's because you have an industry here of sports pundits who used to be pretty circumspect about their opinion. Most of them do not like President Trump. They're ungrateful, and they have to cater to people that are millionaires, these players, who can't articulate any position. As a member of a cop's family, the thing that really gets me is the big lie that police are in an epidemic of violence across the country. That seems to be it. And these players would be given tremendous platforms, Lou, if they wanted to come on shows.
You say it's anti-Trump, but I think we have to go back, and just as you've said, remember the incipient point of this was a San Francisco quarterback who was deeply disgruntled, taking on the mantle of social activists against law enforcement in this country. That was the incipient point. It is the fundamental cornerstone of the anthem insult movement amongst those players. Tammy, your thoughts?
I like what you called it, the anthem insult movement, Lou. And,
That's what it is.
The point is this. This will play out in the midterms. Democrats keep on saying, why do you people care about this, meaning Trump voters and conservative voters and patriotic Americans? Because we do. That's why.
But again, it's a mixture of what matters to President Trump and what he represents and what we represent as Americans. Respect for the country in general. We hear certain complaints and issues regarding certain communities and the issue of law and justice and law and order. But at the same time, a larger commitment to a community that we're all involved in, which is about people's futures, the ability to make money, the ability to have a job.
It's about the flag, the national anthem, and everything this country stands
what it
for.
Represents.
And I think about this. How many presidents can you think of? I think you have to go back to Ronald Reagan to find a president who would have had the guts to say to the NFL, and with all that comes with the NFL in our society and our culture, you're not going to insult the American people, the American flag and anthem, and our heritage. You're going to be respectful. And
I think President Trump, Lou.
Sir?
I'm saying that more than most, President Trump, though, knows these guys. He was a former football team owner. He doesn't like how Goodell goes about his business. And he digs deeply into this. It's one of the front pieces of his mind. And it's very effective because this is something that ought to be resolved pretty easily.
Yeah, but think about how quiet so many people who are leaders in our society have been. How gutless, how lacking in courage. And by the way, their silence in all of this is an insult to this country as well. Because I think most Americans right now, watching this president lead this nation, are pretty well convinced that they have been really overpaying for public service from the people they've elected in both houses on Capitol Hill and often in the 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yeah,
You get the last word, Tammy.
I would just add that this is a reminder, as you're noting, all the other issues come together with this one. It's a symbol of the nature of the attitude toward the country, about entitlements in a way, about a rejection of what this nation stands for, and as a result, why President Trump was elected. So all as this goes on, the longer it goes on, it will be a constant reminder on every issue about how the result of November 2016 was the right one and how that revolution needs to continue.
Yeah, it is, and I misspoke because I started with Tammy, so you get the last word, Dom. I apologize.
Oh, Dom.
Well, Tammy said it
but not until I get a
well.
word in. But not until I get a word in. Very quickly. The idea that this controversy is going on, it should not mask. We've got empirical evidence, as does the NFL. They've lost a tremendous number of viewers on television. Their business is under challenge, and Tammy started with that point.
That's right.
This is a business that is being challenged by the people who have the most to benefit from it personally, aside from Goodell, and that is those highly paid athletes who apparently know no bounds to what they want to get done in terms of being social justice warriors instead of football players.
Lou, that's exactly right. I'm here in the home of the Super Bowl champions. It feels good to say that. And yet I have people that call me that bled for 50 years with the Philadelphia Eagles, did not watch the games this year. And they're being honest about it. That's how painful and difficult this is. Roger Goodell and others are going to have to realize this. But, Lou, I think the players have them over a barrel. Yep. I think this is going to continue in one form or another all the way through November.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. Dom, thanks so much. Tammy, thank you.
Thanks, Lou.
Appreciate it, guys.